Okay, let's get back to where we were here. Oh. Okay, so we are going to just look at how we shut down after the night is over. Okay, so I had kind of just left off in our intro video. We had gotten to M57 to observe either eyepiece or through instrument. And now we want to go through the procedure for how we can close up. So we can unsync the dome from the telescope. So we click on sleeve. And then we again want to send the telescope home. Okay. So if we look through here, right, the telescope's going to stop at the no wrap position right around there and then keep coming around this way to home, which in this camera you can see it a little bit better. That's that little tag right there under so you'll see these two things line up, and then it's going to go back and forth and get its azimuth right. We don't really want to do anything with the dome yet because the telescope is tipped so far up, right? We don't want that to be looking up at the dome as we start to close it. So we'll let the homing go. Once it starts moving its altitude down to 45 degrees or so, we'll start the dome closing. So we'll check the homing message again. So remember, it's doing the azimuth first. It's doing its 7 passes, right, to get its precise azimuth position. Then it will switch to altitude. Okay, so now we're in altitude mode. The telescope's tipping over, right? So it's doing its homing in altitude position. At this point, the telescope is not pointed in the same direction as the dome, and it's tipped over quite a bit. So I'm comfortable starting the dome closing at this point. And again, both the lower and the upper shutters are open, so we can just do fully close. Fully closed works no matter what. It knows what's open, but we can start that, but we'll see that the lower shutter will start coming up first. Okay, so homing is complete. So just to be on the safe side, I can change my altitude back down to 25 degrees to just tip the telescope over a little more. So again, just protect that mirror. And maybe even a little lower. Why don't we do 20 just to... Right. And now you can see the lower shutter. It's kind of a nice view of that. You can see the lower shutter coming up. Once this comes up, then it will start lowering the top shutter. Again, the sky is really bright now because it's just after sunset, but it's just fine for showing you how to do this. So the dome does move slowly, but it's got a lot to do. All right, so we'll see that this is going to, so it's saying it's midway, right? We'll see this go to closed here in a second, and then, yeah, so now it's green closed, and now the top shutter is going to start coming down. Okay. Once we get about halfway, I'll start spinning the dome back around to line up with the telescope. That's the position we usually leave it in. So for now, we're basically done with the telescope. So we can go back here. We can, you could change the position of M3 if you think you're going to be observing with an instrument, put it back in port 1, whatever. Maybe I'll put it back in port 1. See that? We'll see a bump here when the mirror gets in position. This plot down here is showing you the RMS in the azimuth and the altitude, right? So how well is the telescope tracking? And these are very small numbers, right? The scatter here, the RMS is pretty small. These ticks here are plus or minus a quarter of an arc second. So it does a pretty good job. Again, we can see that the telescope is here out of range. If it does end up out of range at some point and it won't move, you can go to the Mount Debug. And you can actually set the azimuth or the altitude. Put the telescope up manually at 45 and set its altitude, and that will fix that problem. Okay, so we're back in port 1. We can just put this back and watch what the mount is doing, and we'll go over here. We want to disable and then disconnect. Okay, and the telescope is done now, so we can shut that down. Okay, we'll wait on this. Cancel that. Let's see how the dome is doing. So now, oh yeah, we're pretty low. So we can start sliding the dome back into position, right? So now this is the back view. We can click on the start right. It'll be a little bit harder to see now that the dome is closed. Okay, it's going into infrared mode. So we're bringing the dome back around. We'll get it fairly closely lined up again, so the dome does still know where it is. It'll be about 207 in terms of the azimuth. We'll stop. We'll hit stop a little bit before that. Let it coast in. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty darn good. Okay, we're gonna call that done. And so that's it. So now we can shut down the dome. And now it should let us probably end this. Clients are still connected. Yes. Okay. And then we can just close down these web browsers, the Amcrest. And then you can log out. So over here to physics and sign out.